There we go.
Hey, we're here. So,
Perfect.
yeah. Um, I want to talk about accommodations today and self advocating, supporting students, but also knowing limits on accommodations, which is something that a lot of faculty in particular may disagree on at different levels. So, yeah, have you had any students that you've had to work with accommodations on yet in any of your courses?
Yes. I had a few. I've had a few, and I work with them, and I help them get what they need, and it's usually been pretty good. And I just try to communicate, hey, if you need anything else or if there's anything that's not going right, please speak up. Feel free to, especially when I was at Penn State, it's like we're teaching classes on special education. So we should be especially accommodating and understanding. Should be. It's not always the case. But for my courses, I was definitely trying to be like, hey, let me make sure that all the things are in order. Let me make sure all these, sometimes in this, like, especially like time on tests or what have you, you have to go in and change the settings for the specific individual. And I learned how to do all those things. And I
Right.
reached out to make sure, hey, does it work? Is it, is everything good? And those things always went well. And I think that one thing that helps is that I'm already someone who shares my slides at the
Yeah.
like at the I think I do it at the beginning of class now and stuff like that, so that I already try to make the people have a lot of things that will help them.
Right. Right. And I definitely concur. By the way, your ensemble is giving me Slytherin house from Harry Potter. It's funny because that's like the house that I allegedly identify with. I'm like a 50-50 Slytherin and Ravenclaw. So,
I
like,
feel like I'd be a Ravenclaw. I'd like to be a
yeah,
Ravenclaw if I
I
had my
feel you're a
druthers.
Ravenclaw.
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely. And also random, one of my favorite pastimes, I guess, in public is to play sorting hat, where I just randomly will like yell what house I think certain people in public belong to. I tend to do that when I engage in like alcoholic beverages.
Hmm.
So if I ever start doing that around anybody, for the record, you should probably cut me off. um,
Oh, and just disclaimer: we do not mess with J.K.
no,
Rowling. Also,
no,
I heard that she was
absolutely
in
not.
them files. So,
Oh my god. No, I don't mess with her. I will say our Broadway season in Kansas City just got announced and Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is part of it. And I'm like, you know what? I would have renewed this regardless. So it's like a convenience that I get to see it now.
hmm
But I'm not like
hmm
seeking it out on Broadway individually and being like, ooh, I'm gonna give my money to a
yeah.
bigot. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah.
it's one of
Anyway,
those smoke versus criticisms kind of
yes.
thing.
Full smoke on the Broadway version. I got criticism for the season selection, but like I'm gonna
Hmm.
go watch it and have some thoughts.
Hmm.
So once I see that, I'll bring that back and
There you
hopefully have
go.
some insight. But yeah, so I've definitely come across a lot of different accommodations. As a disabled person, I want to support the accommodations too. I feel that there's a lot of smoke and criticism both for accommodations just as a whole because people have had experiences that are negative with students who do have accommodations. And so I guess you could say like taking advantage of the system, if you will. Even though like a lot of the times that I see accommodations, they are met with specific boundaries. They're met with like stipulations that kind of put the responsibility on the student instead of the faculty. Like changing test times and stuff like that is obviously on us, but there's a lot of if you need an extension, you need to reach out to this professor within this time window
Hmm.
before the assignment is due and stuff. So it's not always just a free pass to submit your work whenever you want. And so like yeah, I know it gets sometimes in academia there's a bad reputation around accommodations. But that has not been my experience and it doesn't sound like it's been
Hmm.
yours either.
No, no. I've been pretty fortunate, especially when I was in, maybe it was middle school, I was diagnosed with dyslexia. So I was like, I think we talked about this a little bit. I was like in the resource room and all this stuff. And for me, I don't feel like any of the things that they did helped me succeed, which really sucks. When I went to a different school that was private and it was more learner focused and I had more attention and support, then I actually got the support I needed. But every student was in that school because they had that and they got the support they needed. Like I remember Kurzweil, where you can speak the words and it would type out, which was so new and amazing, or
Yeah,
it would read the words out to you, which was so new and amazing. And those things really helped me. But a lot of the accommodations sometimes that people come up with, it's like, who came up with this? Because it's not
yeah,
helping me succeed. It's just another thing. So.
right. That is a big thing too, and like I do find that I'm gonna try to phrase this as carefully as I can with like accessibility offices and accommodation offices. It seems that a lot of the times they will just kind of do a copy paste. Like,
Hmm.
hey, we gave this student these accommodations, so we're going to give this other student the same accommodations. And it's like, the extensions, the extended time on tests, blah, blah, blah. We are in a privileged position for accommodations because we are remote based in our instruction. And so I think that's already pretty accommodating. I work remote in part because it's accommodating to disability. And I don't have to go on site and I don't have to do the face to face social stuff. Like, I choose my social interaction now. Like, this is a choice I make is to help record
Hmm.
this because those are things I enjoy doing versus like, how's the weather? How about them politics? Shut up. Like, I don't want to talk
Hmm.
about those things. I want to talk about important things that matter and like about this like new info dump I learned about. So yeah, I do find that things seems to be like pretty copy paste and like sometimes students will be like, well, I'm glad to have this accommodation, but I don't know how much it's actually helping. And so like working on individualizing those can be a whole other beast that I feel like isn't really our job, but I've done.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I feel the same. I feel like one of the things that I try to do is I have my classes set up in a whole different way that might piss other people off because once again we're getting into that tradition versus what I think is best. A lot of times in real life, I don't think that hard deadlines are really that hard. Like there's almost always flexibility.
Yes.
Like especially even when like it's like, oh, here's a call for papers if you want to submit to present at this conference, and then they do like, oh, 30-day extension. You know what I mean? There's like so many things. Very few things are like you have to turn it at this time or else the world's gonna collapse. So
Right.
in my classroom, I'm like, hey, this is the deadline. However, you know what I mean? I'm going to be accepting late work with no penalty up until this specific time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, what's the point?
Right.
In my opinion, I mean, I think there's important things for like feedback and certain stuff needs to be turned in at a certain time. But just to be like, you have to turn it at this time, or else it's gonna be blah blah, and you have to learn because in real life, it's like no, real life you have access to Google. Real life you have access to the books, so you can look up the information. And in real life, you have access to more time.
Yeah. No, concur. And like the only time I can really think of like if we're talking like deadlines and specifics would be like getting paid with a treatment plan submission or something as a behavior analyst or whatever or like an IEP that's due or whatever. But those are documents you're going to be working on for an extended duration. You can also ask for extensions sometimes
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
you can make that work. Um, but yeah, I mean, if it comes down to you getting paid or not, then yeah, you should probably adhere to the deadline. But it's like you said, life is not always so specific as to what those look like. And I've actually known many professors who do the same thing. Like they will say, okay, I'm opening up the submission inbox like on Friday. And so it's technically due Friday, but you have until Sunday if something comes up And apparently that helps also reduce the emails that are like, oh, my 15th grandma passed, and like now now we gotta like see evidence of it or whatever. And that's another thing, like unless it's just like a recurring issue for a student without accommodations, by the way, I don't usually ask for proof. But if it continues to happen, then it's like, okay, maybe we're taking advantage of the system. But even then, it's like if it's a cumulative assignment, my feedback you need so that you can move on to the next part. So, like building a thesis,
Exactly.
building dissertation, um, then it becomes a little more valuable. It's like, well, this is actually going to put you at risk as long as you know those consequences.
Yeah, yeah. And there are some assignments where it's like, um, we have this assignment, like it's like, what is it? The article, like not article review, but article summary or something like that, method summary, all those things. It's like, the first one sets you up, so it's like, okay, I turned it in.
Yeah,
My professor gave me this feedback, so now I know that this is the kind of way that they grade, and I got to make these changes, so in the future it'll help. And if I just turn them all in late or whatever, I'm not going to be able to have that opportunity. Understood. But also there's like sometimes where it's just like a one-off, and it's like, it's a bigger assignment, I needed more time, things come up in real life, sure. I totally understand that things come up for all of us. I do not really I don't really care. I'm not sitting there at 11:59 waiting for that paper to be come in so I could grade it at 12 o'clock and then send it right back to you. I'm asleep. to be quite frank, while students are suffering and trying to get in those assignments on time, I'm asleep. I'm
yeah,
gone, or I'm doing my own thing. I had to suffer those times and do that before chat. Here I go, before ChatGPT and all the AI systems. We had to do all of our assignments and cram and get it done at the last minute. but um
for sure.
but I have also have empathy for them. I totally understand. Like, I remember I told you before, I think on this podcast, I had like two grandmas pass, like maybe three grandparents pass in the time of my master's program.
Yeah,
And it's like, you're at that age where you're like, you get, usually if you're in a master's program, you're probably getting up there in your, somewhere in your 20s, 30s, or older, which is, whenever you get there, but you're not young where your grandparents, if they're still around,
right.
they're probably
That's
getting up there.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like I swear this is truly the third grandparent
Yeah.
to pass in like a 2 year span. Um, yeah, and I usually try not to give students a hard time about that, accommodations or not. But if you do have accommodations, I tend to be a little more flexible. Like, you don't owe an explanation, you don't owe an apology. Like, students owe me nothing. 100%. Like, and I tell so many students this, and I feel like I have to tell so many students this. It's like, who conditioned you to grovel and apologize and to share your life story? And it's fine, like I will
Hmm.
listen if you need me to, and that helps you. But if you don't want to share your life story, you don't owe me that. Just tell me you'll get it in when you get it in. That's fine,
And
as long as you
and
get
for
it.
me, to be clear, if accommodations or not, if there is something that is happening in your life, you do not need to tell me. You
Yeah,
could just tell me X won't be happening and I can get it done by Y. Okay. When you tell me that you're having your 17th bowel movement in 14 minutes and and things
it
are getting
happens.
iffy, I'm calling poison control or something, I don't need to know that.
Hmm.
And you know what? I believe you, of course, but like, you could just be like, "Hey, I'm unable to do this. Can I get it in by this time?" And what you said is so true. Who conditioned you, the student, to think that you need to do all that? Like, that's so problematic, and I think that happens at a young age, especially in America, where
It does.
where students have to ask to go to the bathroom, whereas it
Accountability.
doesn't happen in, like, across the pond. People are like, what do you mean you have to ask to go to the bathroom?
Right. And I see that with students doing like applied projects and everything, addressing elopement. And it's like, okay, but your definition of elopement is control. That
Mm-hmm.
100% that's what that is. And what you're doing is you are basically Britney Spearsing somebody,
Mm-hmm.
not letting them have any life control. And so like let's
Yeah.
talk about that. Let's figure out context. Let's figure out how we can make that less rigid. Like 100% like these students I think have sometimes been exposed to people like that, and like you said, it's so ingrained in like schools, and like you need a bathroom pass before you go. I think of like Mean Girls whenever, she's like, I never lived in a world where adults couldn't trust me. And it's like, you need the bathroom pass. Can I have the bathroom pass? No, sit down. Okay, so like, like it's 100% what schools are like. And yeah, everyone's demanding like an explanation, everyone's demanding an excuse. And that's fine in society if you've done wrong, because like we've talked about that too. Like if you've done something wrong publicly to hurt people, you owe an explanation, you owe that apology. But like if you're a student, you're paying for your courses, you're showing up as best as you can, and you're still in the understanding that I don't get a grade until I do this. That's all you
Mm-hmm.
need. Like, I just want you
Yeah.
to know there are consequences. That's it. You just won't finish on time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. That's it. And did you have something that you wanted to talk about when it came to maybe accommodations outside of schools?
Oh my gosh. So I don't want to bash this company because for what they do well, they do very little bad. So
Hmm.
like we're going to
You don't have to
Disney
say the
World.
company.
I
Okay.
mean, I already said I threw it out there. So we're going to Disney World at the end of this month because I am obviously a mature adult with no children. Um, and that's what I do with my money and my free time. I'm healing my inner child, okay? Um,
You don't have to explain yourself. I go to Disney. We had a thing where we go to Disneyland once every year at least. So
we just had this conversation. Um,
happiest place on earth.
it really is. And honestly, for what it's worth, like, if you're disabled, Disney is a really accommodating place. Now, with a caveat. So before, when we went in 2024, I was granted the Disability Access Service, which is not a line skip. I want to be very clear. There's a lot of misunderstandings about this. So what you do is you check in for a time and you say, hey, I want to ride this ride or I want to go to this attraction. And so they give you a comeback time. They do this at Universal Studios as well, but they do it like on paper. It's like super old school. And so in the app, it'll basically tell you, hey, your time is here. You can go ahead and scan in. You go through the lightning lane, so people mistakenly think that it's just a fast pass, but it's you've waited that time before you can scan, and you can only do one at a time. So it helps for people like me, and it specifically says on the website, particularly with like intellectual disability, like autism. Hi. Um, and so like I was granted it before, it helped significantly because I'm also a Space Mountain fanatic, and it's like
Hmm.
my comfort. It regulates me. I love it. So I forced my poor husband last time to write it like 6 times in a row. It was like, oh, we're going again, we're going again, we're going again. And by the time we like got through it, it was actually kind of funny. The cast members were like, "Welcome back," they
Hmm.
recognized me. Like, ignore me, I'm autistic. Um, so you can write however many times you want, but you do have to do the wait time every single time. This time I go through the interview process. I say the same thing. I even say I am diagnosed with this and this, and they deny me that access service, but they don't give me a reason for it. Now, I'm privileged in the fact that we pay for the lightning lane. We pay to skip the line. But last time I used the disability access service as kind of like a backup. And so if like the lightning lane I'd already used for that ride or attraction, I would resort to the disability pass and then I would wait the time. But yeah, that was denied this time, and nothing had changed as far as like my disability. If anything else, my needs are like more prominent because I'm more aware of them and I can explain them better. So I don't know, and this goes to a bigger systemic issue. So, like, my physical appearance, being an adult, sitting calmly in a chair, communicating verbally in a moment of regulation is not the same as me as an autistic woman in the middle of a line, dysregulated, who has lost my vocal communication. Like, that's what you
Hmm.
don't see. And that's what you don't
Yeah.
see here. That's what you don't see when I interview for that. So,
Hmm.
with students, I think it's just also important as a reminder to faculty and anybody who's working with disability is disability is dynamic, and just because like we're regulated in one moment and we can convey this information to you at this time doesn't mean that we don't need support in those other times. Like that's
Yeah.
what you don't see. So
Yeah.
so yeah, it was just it was kind of disheartening because I was like,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. 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 No, no, no. I think this is important to talk about because a lot of times we talk about how disability access appears in school, in academic settings, but what about when it comes to places like Disneyland, like places where you want to enjoy some attraction? You know what I mean? These are the real life situations that behavior analysts and such often try to practice and prepare for, you know, when it comes to like an airplane, when it comes to all these other things. And when the individual is denied access, because to the person that gets to choose whether or not you get access, they don't they say, oh, you seem fine now, so therefore you must be fine then. And that's the kind of problematic assessing that kind of gets people to not get a diagnosis in the first place. And then it's like when when you're someone like us who have actually been around people with autism, autistic people who you know have been able to, it's like I can talk to you now, you're good now. But then when in a moment of crisis happens because of different environmental arrangements and conditions, there's a difference clearly. It's like you can tell like there are environmental, for lack of a different word, more complex triggers that, you know, elicit or evoke problematic behavior, or maybe not problematic behavior but different behavior that an individual might feel is a problem at the time. So you know, I, how do we square that circle of individuals who are taking advantage of the system versus people who need the system? Because like as you described before, like you can't get on a different ride while you're waiting for that ride, and you can't get in line because you already have that problem of getting in line. So I mean, clearly, it's like, you know, it's like imagine like in like Mario Kart, you have that ghost that sometimes goes around. It's like you have that ghost holding your spot, yeah, so that you can be able to go in there without having to be trapped in the line, and then, you know, have the walls close in on you or what have you. I mean, that's so important, you know. Hmm. I feel like there needs to be more explicit, short HIPAA trainings that are just like, hey, look, you don't get to choose. Don't say anything. These are the two things that you get to ask. What does the dog do? And you know, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, shut the hell up. Like, it's very simple. Yeah. Hmm. 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 Yeah, I mean, I think that we're getting better, but I think that there's a lot of room for growth. And you know, I wish that there was more education to the general public about these things. And a lot of times when I would teach this one course on special education for general educators, there was just so much that they needed to know. And one course for one semester is insufficient for a teacher that for their entire career, they're going to have to deal with different ranges of individuals with different levels of dis slash ability. So, yeah, and then you know translate that into the real world and people who aren't even working in education, and that just goes further. Hmm. 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 Exactly. 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 So I mean, I think that it's just I think it also goes into one of the things that I am intentional about telling people is pretty much everybody is on social media. I think that one thing that you need to do is look at who you're following and try to not just have them be of one demographic. You know, you need to be following some disabled creators, some LGBTQI plus creators, some people that are black, indigenous, Latina, Asian, you know, intersectional. Yeah, exactly. To really see how that, because like one of my favorite creators is Crutches and Spice. She's amazing. She's a black woman who's also disabled, and she is really great about disability justice. She's very explicit about it, and she doesn't like hide or is not meek. She is very upfront and vocal about like things when it comes to how eugenics ideology slips into common parlance areas. And I really love that because sometimes you have blind spots. So you need people from these communities to help point those out so that you can better understand what's really going on. Yeah. But I mean, also there's the suppression of the content. You know what I mean? Because if she starts talking about how the systems are problematic, those systems that are often the ones that are controlling the algorithms will silence her. I get a lot of suppression on my content, and you have to go through all these ways of saying different things and saying things in different ways just to have your content provided to the community that would greatly benefit from it, especially if you're critiquing the dominant society. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I have to one of the one of the things that I put on my Instagram recently, like I saw, it was like it just was a quote that said, um do it for the love of it again, or something like that. Like, because like a lot of times I've been doing like the content creation for like the numbers, and I will never be satisfied with the numbers. Come to recognize that even when I get incredible engagement, it's never enough. So one of the things that I want to do is be more intentional. It's like maybe make less content, but work more on improving the quality and take more time with it to put out a better product, which is like in these content minds, not the advice at all. It's like you need to be posting at least once a day, and oh my God. And sometimes I just don't want to to make content, you know? And but then it sucks because like when I do make content, there's almost always someone that's like, "Thank you for making this. Thank you for saying this." Because I make that kind of content. You know what I mean? So you know exactly. Yeah, I wish I wish there was an actual platform that we could use that didn't have all of those suppressions, but unfortunately, apparently the only people, well, there's no good billionaire. The I guess the people that do get like the woman who was married to Jeff Bezos, who divorced from him, she's like using her money in all the best places. And I feel selfish that I wish she would create a social media app where we could actually discuss these things plainly. And it's like, okay, you know what? We're gonna move over there because all this suppression and bigotry that is hyped up on these algorithms, we would just not like it. We just be somewhere else if there could just be another one. But I don't know. It just ain't like that. Well, yeah, he is. There could be. It's a spectrum. It's a spectrum. You can be the best billionaire among all of the billionaires. You know what I mean? There's got to be one that's the least worst. You know what I mean? Yeah. Hmm. But that's the thing. She's not putting her name out there. She's just doing the work. That's why we don't remember her name. Hmm. Yeah. Should have. Yeah. Yeah. It's at the point where they could like in world hunger with the money that they have, or do all these things, and it's like no. So so when we say like eat the rich, it's like the problem with billionaires is people don't understand is like they're collecting money. They're basically a dragon in a cave on their mounds of gold, preventing other people from getting access to the things that they need, such as shelter, clothes, food, water. Like the basic necessities that people need, they can't get it because these people are doing that. And then they're also making it harder for those people to make money. So like, Trump doesn't want you to be able to make money. He doesn't want you to be able to have tax breaks or buy a house. Yeah, specifically buy a house or have nice things. So it's like, why do you think that it shouldn't be wrong for us to think that when bad people pass away, why would we be upset about that? Like, you know what I mean? They have this thing. It's like the day it happens, the day it happens. It's like there's a reason why there's a lot of fantasizing about that. It's because things have gotten to a point where we recognize that these things aren't going to get better until these bad people leave. And the only way that these bad people are going to leave is if they leave the Earth, and not in that rocket that Elon has to Mars. We talking about the other way, the down way. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, and it seems like these terrible people just don't die. They just live forever and get to live until old age, and they get to, poop themselves while they're having a cabinet meeting in front of everybody. Just no shame. Just no shame. What is shame? Like it's just oh, absolutely. It's definitely sounding like that. You can see the lady in the back in the green kind of going like this. It's just and it's like when you have like one rumor, it can maybe dismiss. When it's like a continuing thing, you know what I mean? It's like so yes. And there because the thing is like I I had a student who one time had an accident, and he had never had an accident like this, and he was freaking out in the bathroom. He was freaking out, and he was really going through it. And I was talking to him, walking him through it, and we figured it out. I'm like, okay, now use the paper, the toilet paper, to grab the and put it in the bag and everything. And I was just walking him through it, and he got through it. And he was a champ, and that was super distressful to him. On the other hand, we've got this, I don't know, it's just I don't know how to make sense of the madness that is our planet right now, or maybe ever. Because I mean, I'm sure this isn't the first president that's been incredibly incompetent, undeserving, bigot. I mean, it's just a list. I mean, yeah, it's almost a requirement at this point because I've learned throughout the last few years like there's no good president. Every president has done war crimes. Every president has done incredible evil. Like people are like, well, what about Obama? Okay, him too. Like I mean, yeah. The thing is, voting is harm reduction. And we didn't reduce the harm this time. Well, those people that voted didn't reduce the harm. And for the majority of those people, I'm sure that they are receiving bad times because of their vote. But it's like, well, at least these people are suffering. And it's like, if that's how our democracy works, I think that we need to figure out a different system. Just thinking about that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then if you think about it, like if you take that thought to the logical conclusion, they now have more money to spend in the economy if that's what you care about. So, I mean, I don't know, the endless stupidity. I feel like we got to find a way. Yeah, I feel like we got to find a way to end on some positivity. Like, mhm. Yeah, I mean, here's some positive stuff. So last weekend I went to protest, and we were protesting, general striking, doing all the good things. And then we're walking around, and we were in San Francisco, and it was a hot day for San Francisco. And we're in California, and sorry everybody else that's dealing with the weather. You wanted to experience seasons, here you go. um, we're walking around, we're hot, we're thirsty now, holding our signs and what have you. And there's a mom with her kid, and they're passing out snacks and water. and it was so nice. And I was like, "Oh, can I get a water? One for me, one for my fiance." And they passed us out water. And like those are the helpers that you want to look for, that you'll always almost always be able to find in protests, of people that just, like I've done it before, just get a crate of water from Costco, just bring water. And that is one way that you can be so supportive. So look for the helpers. Yeah, there's this really great there's a lot of ways to support that are not just marching in the streets. There's this one thing, this group called Calling Up Justice, which does a really great job at providing spaces and ways to show your support, and they really support disability justice. One of the things that they have is they have like I don't know if I can find it here. There's like a website that you can actually go into, that is a virtual space where you walk around, and they have like books that are in the virtual space. They have all these types of different things. I'll try to find it and give send it to you so you can put it in the notes. But it's a really amazing opportunity that has accessible content and all this stuff that I highly recommend. That you can go on and really be able to participate and support without being in the streets. So yeah, Calling Up Justice. Highly recommend them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think yeah, they have virtual parades and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna stop the share, but just so you know, there are spaces and places where you can go where you don't have to actually physically be there. You don't always have to give money. There are things that you can do and ways that you can uplift the causes that will make the material lives of individuals improve. Yeah, yeah.